3 p.m. already. Let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Untitled WebDev stream. My name is Lucas, and today's episode will be focused not so much in the technical stuff that we saw on previous episodes, but today we will be focusing on the interview process. So basically, today's episode will be focusing mainly on how it is to get a job in IT in general, if you want to work as a web developer, even if it's backend or frontend, it's generally pretty much the same experience. I'm making this episode mainly because first, that's one of the most common questions I get, how to get a job and how is the interview process and how is the technical interview and how is the human resources interview that you have first and all that stuff. And also because I'm not super experienced in this, but I tend to jump from company to company because I generally get bored of the company I'm currently on, so I tend to work from one company or the other. So I have a little bit of experience in this process, mainly because I saw quite a bunch of different processes to be interviewed and to be hired by different companies. So I wanted to share that with you. But as well, this stream is more like an invitation to actually if you have some kind of experience in interview process as well, to share that with the community so we can all learn from each other, basically. So I'm seeing that we have some artifacts in the stream right now, so I will be turning off the psychedelic background because that makes it super pixelated and we don't want that. So let's just go to the plain black background. So yeah, even if today's episode is more focused in chatting with you and talking about the process and how I got my first job, for example, and stuff like that, and also to read your experiences if you have those, even if that's the main point of today's episode, I will also be showing you some of the exercises that I as an interviewer provided to some candidates for positions in web development. So I will be showing you exercises that I created for JavaScript and for React, and what was I expecting when I was an interviewer, but also what generally is expected from interviewees or candidates in different companies. Okay. Hi Leo, I just saw the chat, thanks. Yeah, I like the psychedelic background as well, but the thing is when you are streaming, the amount of pixels that are changing on the video affect the overall quality. So if I reduce the amount of pixels changing surrounding me, then the overall quality of the stream improves. So I just wanted to try if the current settings I have were enough to support that, but it seems it's not. So yeah, go back to the black background. So yeah. So first off, one of the first questions I generally get is how did I get my first job working in web development in general. And the thing is at that point, when I got that first job, I was doing a lot of freelance work, but it wasn't actual work because I wasn't getting paid for that. It was more like a hobby. So at first I didn't have any kind of profit or money or whatever, and I'm not recommending to do this because you should always try to get some kind of money in exchange for your work. But I was working mainly for myself. I was doing a lot of projects. I still do. I was working on a social network of sorts that I wanted to create at that point. I completely dropped that that project for now, and I started working on a lot of tooling and libraries and stuff like that. At that point, one of the most popular backend languages for for development was PHP. Nowadays, it's more common to use Node.js, so that's why I show you JavaScript and so on and so forth. But at that point was PHP, so I worked a lot doing stuff with a little bit of PHP on the back end, a little bit of JavaScript on the front end, and working with that. But I was doing just projects for myself, right? So I was doing like a lot of stuff for myself, but I was still looking for a way to like start working for these big companies I saw out there, right? In Argentina, the place I was born, there were like a lot of like different companies like in my city, but the main, like the biggest companies were in other cities. So I was even considering maybe like to move to a city like Buenos Aires, for example, or Tandil, that were cities that were like more technical than the one that I was living in. So I had like a strike of luck initially. I was contacted by a friend of mine that had some contacts in like development in general, in like in a super small company that didn't hire like super legally. Let's say there were like off the books contracts and stuff like that. And as soon as I like start like presenting my profile to that small company, they were super interested in me, mainly because I had experience already. They didn't need to train me or anything like that. I learned by myself, so the knowledge I already had was more than enough for them to contract me, to hire me. Sorry, I keep using contract when that's not like the actual word in English. It's like hire. So I was more than enough for the position they wanted me to be. That was basically like doing some front-end development with Bootstrap, the common library for that point or whatever. So I was hired. Like some strike of luck on some side because a friend contacted me with that company, but at the same time, all the previous experience I had gave me like was like a gift for like the position was like super easy to get, right? Now, the interview for that company, because it was like super off the books, was super unofficial, so it's not like one that you will get because you might get the other experiences that are more professional. But this in particular was super weird. It was just like an invitation to go to their offices and then to talk directly to the CEO of that company that was like also like the technical leader of the vast majority of the projects, and just to talk directly with him. And like it was like a super weird, but at the same time like social experience. It was more like talking with him and like talking about the experience I had, and I started like working with them, and they were super happy with the products I was creating. So it was like, it was not official at all. So this first job generally is like not the best example of how the interview process goes, because it's super like off the records of the books. It's super unofficial, right? So the first actual interview process I went on was my second job, actually, for a company called Globant, that is like, it was born in Argentina, but now it has subsidiaries all over the world, like in India and in the United States, in Argentina and so on. So for that company, the impact I created was like pretty much entire my own. I mean, I got some recommendations lying around, but the thing was, in my city, in Mar del Plata, where I lived and I was born, there was some like conferences, like technical conferences, and one in particular that is the one that I love the most is called Barcamp, that is also made like all over the globe, but I went to the one in my city. And in there I gave my first talk about web development in general, with the experience I got from my personal projects and the projects I was working on this like super shady company I worked at first, right? So with all that experience into account, I gave a talk about my general feel on the current status of web development and how you could improve the general quality of your products, okay? Because I made like that leap of faith, and to be honest, I'm like quite like shy in general. It's like super hard for me to talk with other people, so that was like a super like hard thing to do. But I really wanted to like share the experience I have with others, the same thing I'm trying to do with this same stream. So I gave that talk, and that talk ended up giving me a new job, okay? So like a week or so later, after that talk that I wanted to give like to the community or whatever, I was contacted by this company Globant, and that was the first time I went to like let's say like a formal interview process. So This interview process in general, like in all formal companies, like all the ones I did so far, they are generally separated into two parts, right? The first one is like the first contact. In that, you generally are contacted by like the human resources department or like the people group or whatever they wanna call it, but it's basically like people that are not like they don't have like a technical background. They are more like focused in like talking about the company and selling the company to you. Because one thing that I could say right now, one thing that you should keep in mind is that you want to get a job. That's like the truth. Like maybe you are seeing this video later on YouTube or you are seeing this stream right now because you want to get a job, right? In like web development or in software development. But the thing is like you want to get the job, but the companies want you even more. So you are the thing that they want. You want to work for them, but they want you. So generally the first interview is, it seems like they are testing you, like seeing like, okay, let's check your level of English, for example, like how good are you like pronouncing or understanding what other people say. Or they are seeing like, what's your previous experience or stuff like that. Yeah, they're asking some stuff to like actually figure out how good are you, or trying to figure out in which position you could enter the company, okay? But they are also super interested in like selling the company to you. So generally they will say like, I don't know, X company, this company provides all these benefits and is the best company around, and it has all these subsidiaries all over the world and is super stable and whatever. So they try to sell the company to you. So as soon as you start noticing that, I noticed this like, I think in like my second or third interview for other companies. Basically, I started noticing this pattern on pretty much all interviews. Is that they want you. So even if you want the job, you should have the confidence that if they are interviewing you, it's because they want a new developer in their ranks. So instead of trying to like be like trying to defend yourself or trying to prove that you are great, you should also try to focus the interview in like some kind of like, okay, but why is your company good for me, right? So for example, they generally like ask you a few questions about your background. For example, like, did you work previously on other companies? What products did you make? How confident did you feel in your position? Or why are you passionate about this? Is like the passion. I will talk about that later, but they are usually asking about this. But they will ask some questions to have some kind of like, to start creating like some kind of profile, technical profile about you, okay? But as soon as they finish doing that, they generally go to like the classic, do you have any questions for us? And you should take advantage of that. You shouldn't be like no, I don't have questions for now. You should be prepared, because you are actually, you should try to like interview them, okay? So you should be like ready to do some questions, to make some questions to them. So for example, you could ask like, okay, what's the like the general like I don't know, the general benefits you provide, for example. If they didn't talk about that, then ask about that. Like what are the benefits and the vacations, and for example, in my birthday, am I free to take my day off or I need to work on my birthday? Do I have any benefits on my birthday if I come to work? How long are the vacations? Are the vacations paid? What is the general compensation for this seniority? So for example, if I want to work as a junior developer, what is the general like payment you like give to junior developers on your company, okay? And stuff like that. So you should like try to switch the roles, because they are actually that way. They should be interested in hiring you, but you should be like judging how good that company is for you as well. And I know this is hard to do, more so if this is the first company you are working on, but this actually shows like also confidence and shows that you are like actually a experienced developer if you can like switch the roles in that way, okay? So generally, as I said, the first part is like a human resources interview. They generally like get a feel of you, and they will tell you that you will contact them later, like I don't know, later that same day or later that week or whatever, and they will give you like a new day to meet with some like developer in their side. So the first interview is more like a social one to test like your level of English. That's why this stream is in English, not just because some people that are not like Spanish or like from Argentina or whatever will see the stream, but also because I want to help you improve your English, because that's super basic in order to get like a good job, okay? So after you get that first interview, the second one is more focused on your technical experience, okay? Generally, what happens on the background, like the thing you don't see, is that the human resources person that contacted you first will take note of all your data, like your name, the years of experience you say you have. They will check surely in like a document or like a spreadsheet or whatever they have on the background. They will check like, okay, if he has 4 years of experience, then is like, I don't know, like a semi-senior, for example, or junior 2 or whatever they have internally to like to define your level of experience, okay? And they will also say, okay, if he's a senior, maybe we need to test if he's actually a senior developer, he, she, or whatever, okay? So like they are an actual developer, like a senior or an actual junior, okay? So once they like take note of that and they find a developer that can like ask you some questions to define your actual level of experience, then they will like try to find a spot in the calendar of both the developer and you, if you have some kind of busy calendar, to meet, okay? So let's say a week from now you get a new interview, and this one will be focused more on the technical side, okay? So you shouldn't get confident in that like all the social part is already done, okay? Depending on the company, I have all kinds of technical interviews, but you could have, for example, one person that like gives you just like the list of questions they have on the on their side, okay? So they have some kind of document that says like, ask what is the paradigm of JavaScript, ask if they know how to write a function in JavaScript, ask if they know about, and they do like, and they go step by step and just read the questions and take notes of your answers. So that's like the worst kind of interview from my point of view, because it's like, it feels like an exam and it shouldn't. It's like, that sucks. So other way they could take this is just to like give you like a link to, for example, like code sandbox or other like web interface for web development, and they could give you just an exercise, like, for example, I don't know, like, try to solve this. How will you solve this particular issue? Sometimes the company is like they use the same exercises all over, like again and again and again. So they will like, to 3 different persons, they will all get the same exercises, and that kind of sucks as well. But at least they are showing the process, the development process. Other companies might have like an exercise tailored for the project you will be going in. What this means is basically like they already know in which project they want you to work. For example, let's say I have a project for Microsoft and another for Google, and Leo in here in the chat is the one that I want to work for, a project for Google, okay? So instead of giving you like a default placeholder kind of exercise, the same exercise I gave to like 3 other people for like Microsoft, for example, I have an exercise that is particular, interesting, or linked or similar to the problems we are facing right now in the project for Google. So I show you that exercise because I want to see how good you will be in the actual project. I don't care about like the general experience you have, because maybe, yeah, you know how to write a super performant function in JavaScript, but you don't know how to solve this particular issue in React, and this project is focused on React, so you are not that useful for me, maybe, right? So that's another one. Other kind of exercises that you could get from the technical side, and I don't like these ones at all. I think they're, if I need to do like some kind of top 5 or top 10 of kind of like the technical interview, this will be like in the bottom. And it's like the code challenge. The code challenge is basically, instead of like talking directly with you, like developer to developer. They just send you like, I don't know, like a GitHub repo or something like that. They send you like an exercise to do in your home, like homework or something like that. But you are actually like expending your time without getting any money for that in order to show your level of experience. That is both lazy in the company side, because the company is not expending any kind of like time or money to actually figure out your level of experience or how good are you, but actually it's like just like bad for you as well as a candidate, because you're basically like working for free to prove your worth, and that's not how things should work, right? So I wasn't expecting the stream in English. Hi Guido. Yeah, I do this stream in English mainly because first there are some people that watch the stream and they don't talk in Spanish, so I need to talk in English in order to make myself clear. And also, as I explained like a few minutes ago, and also in the first stream, is because I want to help people that talk in Spanish to improve their English as well, to try to understand better the English pronunciation. Mine is not the best, obviously. It's like I have like an accent or whatever, but the thing is like I want you to help improve in that regard as well. I went to an exam, didn't make it. I couldn't do it, lol. So in the chat, Leo in here is went through this exam format and he didn't made it. Okay, so yeah, that's like a really shitty experience. Sorry. Yeah, the thing is like, if you went to like the one that they ask you one question after the other, that company is not worth your time, let's say. I mean, they could have some pre-formatted questions. The ones that I will be showing you today, they have some kind of like pre-defined format. But the thing is like, I'm not interested that you answer exactly the thing that I'm waiting for. I want to see your process. When I ask you something as an interviewer, I want to see how do you solve it. If you go ahead and open Google and Google how to do this on Google, I will be happy with you. Like that's what like almost like every senior developer I know does. Like it's not that as soon as you become a senior developer you don't need to use Google anymore and you are some kind of like I don't know, yeah, like you have all the knowledge on your mind or something like that. It's not like that. You keep on Googling, but you know how to Google better, basically. It's like you know what to Google, basically. So for example, if there are some companies out there that are kind of like, I don't know, like old-fashioned or whatever, that they will basically make you a list of questions, and if you don't answer exactly what they have like in their document that they're reading to you, then they basically consider that, yeah, they don't know how to do this, so let's switch to another developer, and that's not the case the vast majority of the times. Okay, so as I said, we have the first step is basically the contact with the human resources team or whatever. The second step is this interview, like technical interview process that has a lot of variations. And then there comes like a third step, but that's basically always the same for all companies I interview with, and it's basically the final offer. So basically they now have like your basic I don't know, like presentation, like how is your English, what's your previous experience, how good were your questions in general when like you show interest in the company or whatever. And they have all the technical regards also covered, supposedly, depending on the questions they make. Like for example, they know about the things that we need for this particular project, or they know about like they have like general experience on like the overall field. Like for example, they have experience in CSS, HTML, JavaScript, and a particular framework like Angular or React. And once they have both of those, they define like, yeah, this particular developer is maybe like a senior, so we have like a low budget and a high budget to like pay for this developer. So let's say like, I don't know, for this developer we could pay I don't know, between 8 and 10K a month, okay? Like 8 and 10K a month for this particular developer, okay? So depending on the company, they will maybe just give you the lowest, like from that band of money, the lowest one. So they will offer, we will pay you 8K for monthly for whatever you know, and you could like maybe accept, and that's okay. You could argue that I don't know if that's like the right amount, and they will like then offer you maybe 9 or go directly to the 10, to the maximum amount they can offer for your position, and you could like, yeah, okay. But the thing is, like, one question I usually get in this in this particular scenario, in this final round of the interview, is that like, how do I know that they are offering like a low amount for me, right? Because you never actually know what's the band from like the lowest income to the highest income they have for your seniority, right? So generally it's like, how do I know they are offering me like the top dollar they have or like the lowest dollar they have? So the thing is, like, you never know, but you have like some kind of like technique in order to force them to offer you like the biggest amount or some kind of like bigger amount, and that's basically to not accept as soon as you get the offer, okay? So you finished the first interview, it went okay. You finished the technical interview, it went okay. We reached this final offer, and they say like, yeah, we are thinking to offer 8K, and you don't know if that's the biggest or the lowest. So you can like just say like, okay, let me think about it. I will contact you soon with my response, but do not answer right away. Do not be like, okay, let's like sign right now and show emotion, but because as soon as you do that, you are basically like saying like, I'm okay with that amount, okay? If you say something like, let me think about it, I will answer you like, I don't know, let's say this interview was on Friday, you say like, let me answer you on Monday, for example, like after the weekend, okay? Or something like that. If you delay the answer, then you are not showing interest, but either you are not rejecting, but you are like giving the feel that you are not sure about that amount. Okay, it's like, I don't know, like 8K, maybe 9 will be okay. But like, if you show that, generally, at least in my experience, the company is like, try to like say, okay, he's not super happy with the 8K, like he or she is sorry about like this, but like they are like thinking about it, so they're not super sure about. So the company basically will sell like, offer a little bit more just to make them happy, okay? So Monday will come and they will say like, so how are you feeling about 9K, for example, instead? And let's just sign and that's okay, or let's do this or whatever. But the thing is like, do not accept right away will be like my first like tip of the day regarding the salary, okay? Sorry, reading the chat for a second. My company don't know really, but it wasn't a pleasure experience. So startups are like super small companies, so basically you could get like a great experience because there are some startups out there that like are bad, like they are super superior to actual companies, because they provide like a good developer experience, they provide like a good working environment, they provide like a top dollar salaries and stuff like that. But you also have some startups that are basically like a bunch of friends that are fine with whoever is in charge, and I don't know, it's like this a really bad experience. So I'm not saying like all startups are bad. I'm just saying like you could have like a great one or a really bad one. I don't know if there's like a middle ground. So as I was saying, one tip I could give you is that delay your answer. Do not answer right away like, I'm super with this or whatever. And the other one is, and I forget to tell you about this, in the first interview, when you are first contacted or whatever, if you are already working for a company, so this is not your first job, let's say it's like your third or your second job, so you are already working for a software company, they will ask you sometimes, and this is quite rude and it's like really like badly seen by developers, but they do this. They will ask you how much are you receiving right now for your current position, okay? That's super rude, but you can use that as a leverage that ends up like being beneficial for you, okay? So as soon as they ask you that, because they are being rude, you can be rude in return and basically answer with a number that is not actually the amount that you are getting. So if, for example, you are getting 10K a month, so 10,000 a month, and they ask you how much are you getting, just add 20% to the actual amount that you are getting. So say like, yeah, I'm getting 12,000 a month, not 10, okay? That gives you two benefits. First one, as like the lowest amount the company will offer you is a little bit more of that 12,000. So they will end up offering you more money that you are currently getting. That also will show that if you are getting 12,000, then you should be a good developer. So generally they put you in a better position for like the technical interview. You should like try to defend yourself better, but yeah, you get that benefit as well. And also it gives you a better position for discussing in the last interview when they give you the last offer, the final offer, because they now know how much you are getting on your current position. So if they want to offer you, for example, yeah, will you be happy with 12,500, for example? So just 500 like on top of the supposed current salary you are getting. So you could like be like you could keep using the same technique. So basically say like, yeah, I'm interested, but let me think about it. Like, I will contact you in like 2 days or so with my final decision or whatever. Basically, that pushed them to like say like, yeah, he's getting 12,000, right? So if we are just offering 500 in top of that, he will not switch companies or she will not switch companies. So this basically helps you out in the end. So if they are being rude and they are asking your current salary, you can use that in like in a way that ends up being beneficial for you. Okay. So basically, this one like quite long, but I didn't want it to make it that long, but. We have two main steps that all companies like have. The first step is quite the same always, like they want to know you basically and know how much experience you have or whatever. The second one is the one that changed the most because depending on the company and the person making the questions, like the interview will completely different. And the final step is generally also always the same. It's just like the final offer, how much they want to pay you. If you're working directly for an American company, they will make the final offer with the amount of money that you will be getting yearly. So it will seem like a huge amount, but you need to like divide that by 12 and then like reduce all the like the sorry, I forget about the word, but it's like reading the chat 1 second. I don't know how it's in the US, but here you have third-party recruiters who will get the best salary possible because from your salary he gets a bonus. DevOps sysadmin usually has to face multiple tech interviews. Okay, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, at least in the front end or like the full stack web development, it generally is just one technical interview. If you have two, is because they wanted to first like test your general knowledge and then test your knowledge focus for the project in particular. But generally it's like you could take that as like the second step divided in two basically, but it's always like social, technical and final offer basically. Still, the thing that you are mentioning here to have like a third party that makes all the interviews is actually great, because if a company focused on just the interview process and they have like that super tuning to be like a great experience in general, they will actually be better that to have like an in-house interview process that will be different from company to company, right? So yeah, I think that at least in that regard, your approach is far better than the one that we have in the US. But yeah, sorry, I was saying, in the US, they made the offer for like the entire year. In Argentina, for example, I don't know in other countries, if you have the experience, like, and you are seeing this in YouTube later, or you are here right now, you could like share that experience on the chat as well. But the salary in Argentina is defined monthly, so the number that they will offer you is basically the amount of money that you will get monthly. You still need to deduct all the like the state stuff that you need to pay and whatever, but the thing is like that's like the amount that you will get monthly, and in the United States the offer you get is for yearly basically. Okay, so I wanted to, besides like talking about this process, I wanted to share with you some of the interview questions / exercises that I had when I did interviews myself. These are quite old and I will never use this again, so I can just share them with you and be done with it. So let's switch to the desktop. So I don't know if this is big enough. Let's make it a little bit bigger maybe. Yeah, okay. So the exercises I did for like to interview people that will work for the company I was working on at that moment I have some that are focused mainly on JavaScript and some that are focused mainly on React, because I was doing interviews for React developers. These one are the ones that I have for JavaScript, so I basically just share the link for this JavaScript interview test with the people being interviewed. So let's say like you are currently being interviewed right now for the company I'm working on. So I will send you the link to this, okay, to this kind of like code sandbox. So it's like you have the code editor on the left and the result on the right, okay? And I will send you the link to this, but I will be on like a meeting with you, like on like, let's say like Google Hangouts or Google Meet or like Zoom or whatever, but I will be there with you. And it's not because I want to like actually see everything you do. It's more like because depending on of your level of experience, I like to hear what's the process that you are doing when you are working. So basically it's like, yeah, so now I'm adding this because of, so you can talk about the process, and that helps you as well, because you end up like using me as a rubber duck. The rubber duck expression is generally used in development, so let's like, I don't know if I have a, no, I don't have a window with Chrome in here. Let me open one. So, rubber duck programming. So the rubber duck debugging is basically a technique in which you have like a rubber duck, let's say I don't have any toy in here, but you have a rubber duck in your hand or in your desktop or whatever, and you explain the problem you are currently having. So for example, I'm trying to get the list of users, but for some reason there are some users I can't get the name for example. And as soon as you start explaining the problem, you can figure out what the problem is and resolve it. This doesn't work just with a rubber duck, an actual rubber duck, right? It's just called that way, but you could like explain the problem you are having to a coworker or the interviewer, for example, and that could help you figure out the problem and resolve it, okay? So, for example, let's say I'm trying to resolve whatever problem is in here, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get the name, but I'm not getting one because it's undefined, so I need to define it first. But as soon as I start explaining it, it's like I ended up figuring out myself, okay? Now, this exercise I have in here for JavaScript is the one that I generally use for JavaScript, like used in the past. I don't use this anymore, but it was basically 3 different exercises to see 3 different regards of coding, or how do you work with code, okay? So the first one in here is like, make the following function return a stranger when no name is set. So we check the function, we have export function, so this is like an old approach. The function is called greet like hello. It takes a name and returns hello and the name, okay? The problem with this, and we can check it in here on the console when we click test, is that if I provide a name, it says, for example, I say greet, and in here I put Leo, for example. This will say hello Leo, okay? That's awesome. But the thing is, like, if I don't provide a name in here, if I forgot to provide a name or whatever, then it says hello undefined, because the value of name by default is undefined in JavaScript, okay? So the idea with this exercise is super simple actually to solve, is to see how the developer solves it, okay? It's not so much about the actual solution, because you have like a lot of different solutions, but I want to see what's your process when you are trying to solve this. So one could be like, and the worst one from my point of view, could be like maybe the developer does something like let to have like a variable in here, actual name, right? And then in here they put like whatever, we don't put any value yet. So then we do something like if name is undefined, then we do like actual name is stranger, else if it's not undefined, then actual name is the name, and we do actual name in here, okay? So this will be like the worst possible solution, but it's a solution, right? So let's clear this out. How do I clear the console in here? I guess we can't. Or maybe Control L, Control K, nope. Okay, whatever. Refresh then. That did it. Okay, so we had this, and if I test this, now we have hello Luke and hello stranger. So it's working, but it's not the best solution whatsoever, okay? So when I see this, but coming from like a junior developer, that's okay. That's something that can improve. But if the first interview said, like when they talk with the human resources department, and they say that I'm interviewing a senior developer, right? And the senior developer does something like this, then I'm not that, like, I will not give like a good, let's say like a good review about this developer, okay? This is like fine with a junior because they actually don't know maybe a better solution, but they can learn it. The thing is, like, if there are senior developers and they are still doing stuff like this, they should like try to, I don't know, don't say that they are senior developers. So one way we can improve a little bit this maybe is that get rid of this variable that doesn't do anything and all this if logic. And we could say like name. So if name, and use a ternary in here, for example, like if name is undefined, then do a stranger, and if not, then the actual name. That will actually work as well. So if we test this, we get hello Luke and hello stranger, so that's working as well. One other approach, one better approach from my point of view, is instead of having this, JavaScript has something called default values, okay? So we can, instead of doing that, just do equals stranger. This makes it so if I don't provide a value in here, then the value will be name. So if we test this now, let's save it, okay, and test, hello Luke, hello stranger, okay? So this keep on. The output is always the same, but the solution is can be like super simple, like this, or super complex as the one I showed you previously with the if, right? Finally, one thing that I have in here that says optional, make any other optimizations you want, is maybe they see this and they say like, okay, this is a function, but this could be expressed as an arrow function. And I will be fine with that as well. So maybe this, instead of export function, whatever, is like const create equals that, and that works as well, and it's super like small and simple and easy to read. So this will be one of the optimal solutions from my point of view, at least, if I'm judging. But for example, the previous one, like this one, is fine enough. It's like if you said you are a senior developer and you do this, okay, that's okay. If you do the previous one, if you do this, that's also kind of okay. There are better ways, but maybe you didn't learn yet about the default values for the name. Now, if you do the if one, being a senior developer, then yeah, that will not end up well, whatever. So let's turn this back to where it was. Okay, so this was one of the exercises, for example. As you see, at least me as an interviewer, I'm not checking about like if you get the actual stranger in here. I don't care about that. It's like, yeah, so you click and now it says a stranger when it doesn't have a name. That's okay. But I don't care about that. I care more about like what's your actual solution, what's your process, how did you think about the solution, okay? Basically, if you go directly to the correct solution in here with like stranger or something like that, if you do this, is that at least I see that you understood the problem directly. It's like, oh, sometimes it comes undefined, so I should have like a default value for this. So you should go ahead and just put the default value in there. If you go the if route, you are basically thinking like, okay, so I need to check if it's undefined and create a new variable for that and then assign that variable. So you are like making a simple problem into a super complex one, and you shouldn't, okay? So this was one of the exercises. The second one I have in here is super common, age average. So basically we have a list of users. I think I have that in index maybe, or users in here, so I can check in here. We have this list of users, okay? So it's a list, like an array, and inside it has like these objects like age 22 and sex female and city Buenos Aires, and we have this other one that is male and is from the city San Juan and whatnot, okay? So we have an array of users, okay? This exercise says that make the following function, the one that function that says age average, return the average age of females living in Buenos Aires. So this is basically to see how you handle complex data structures, okay? We have a data structure that is a list that has quite a bunch of properties, and I want to know how will you extract that and return like a list of users that are not the list of users, sorry, the average of what was average age of female living in Buenos Aires, okay? So this also has like a lot of different solutions. This could be solved like, for example, I don't know, something like, again, like a really bad approach to have like let average in here, and then have something like, I don't know, like a 4 in here. This will suck. User of users, I think it is, or in users. I need to add a let to this as well. And then go like if, this sucks. This is not the best approach, okay? Like user dot, okay, well, y of s instead of in, then users dot, yeah, city equals Buenos Aires, and user dot sex is female, then average I do like plus equals user dot age. This sucks. Let's start the average in 0. And once I'm done with that for, then I do I need to take account also the amount. Man, God, let count, let's say, also starts in 0. I do count plus equals 1, and then I return average divided by count. Okay, so this might work. Let's test it. The average is 25. Okay, this is giving me an average, but this approach sucks. I mean, I had a list and I end up like doing like a for with an if with all this complexity when I just needed to like filter the users that are female and from Buenos Aires and just return the average of that, okay? So this is like a lot of complexity for something that can be solved more easily, okay? Again, let me clarify this, like I will clarify it with every exercise. This is fine for a junior developer, for an entry-level developer, okay? But if we are talking with a senior developer and they do this, they are generally like, they don't have as much experience as they think they have in like JavaScript development at least, okay? So this is not the best approach by far. One approach that you could have then is, as I mentioned, use a filter. Then we have, let's make this return 0 for now. So we have the list of users, right? So that's a list. As any list/array in JavaScript, you have different methods. One method you have is filter. This will filter in some things that you want to from that list. Meaning that I provide a function to this filter. So for example, user, and in here I user.city equals Buenos Aires and user.sex equals female. Okay, so by doing this, let me maybe put it in a new line in order to make it readable. There. Okay, now filter, this filter function from JavaScript basically takes a function, so this function in here, okay, and if this function returns true, then that value stays on the array. If this function returns false, then that value is extracted from the array. So this basically makes it so all the female users from Buenos Aires stay in the array, and all the others that don't match these two criteria are removed from the array, okay? So now we need to make the average of this, okay? To get the average age of this. So in order to do that, we can just const female users, and in here we can just do summatory divided by the length. That will make sense. Yeah, I guess that will make sense. Okay, so female users is again an array, right? Because it's the array that now only contains the users that are from Buenos Aires and they have the sex female. So now we want to use another method from this array now. It's called reduce. This one is quite complex, but still I want to show you. So let's put total in here and user. I will explain it as soon as I finish writing it. User.age total plus that, comma 0. So what reduce does to an array is basically it takes a function as well, this function over here, as filter did, and the first parameter in this function is the, let's say, current value. Okay, I will explain that in a second, but bear with me for a second. The second parameter is the current user I'm in, so it will be like user by user. In here, I do that current value, I put the name total, but it could be called like current, for example, current, and it will be okay, but total makes more sense in this scenario. So I add the age to that total, okay? Now, what is this 0? This 0 I put in here is a second parameter to reduce, so reduce takes this function in here and a value. This value is the default current value, meaning that at the beginning, at the start of like on the first user, total will have this value, so it will have the value 0, okay? Now, total plus user age. Let's say the user has the age of, I don't know, 24. So now total is 0 plus 24, 24, okay? So in the next lap of this loop, so this loops over all the users, total will be 24 because it's the result of the previous one, and then we'll add the new user to that, okay? So every time we do like a new lap, total will have the value of the total plus the user age. This is quite complex, but this is more expected of a senior developer, okay? Now, with that we have const total in here. Could have that. And finally, let's remove some of the complexity in here, but yeah, let's rename this current, because if not, then we have total and total, okay? So the current value plus the user age, okay? So this total in here, we can do just total divided by female users dot length, okay? So this is like a more complex solution, but still this is more expected of a senior, not so much of a junior, okay? So if, for example, the other scenario, the other way around happens, and you are interviewing to be in a junior, but I see that you are doing this, I will talk with the human resources team and say like they might not be a junior, they might be like a junior advanced or a junior 2 or a semi-senior or maybe a senior and they don't know about it, okay? That happens a lot because some people stay in companies for like a long period of time. So instead of jumping from one company to the other, they stay in the same company for like, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, and they get they stay on like certain seniority. So for example, you started as a junior in let's say company A, okay? And you stay in that company for I don't know, 2 years. In 2 years, they like make you progress in the internal seniority system, and they make you like, I don't know, like a semi-senior. But maybe in 2 years you got like a lot more experience than the one experience they want to pay for. And if you go ahead and do an interview for another company, they will say like, you are not a semi-senior, you are a senior. You need to work with a senior seniority because you get experience, okay? So, this is fine, this is quite fine. We can reduce this even further, but I don't think it will be like that good. We could just like, instead of having total, we could move this in here directly. And we could also like, instead of having these female users, we could have like something like move this in here or something like that. But yeah, it's like an overkill. I mean, this can be, with a solution like this, I'm already happy. Like, yeah, you know what you're doing. If you know how to use a reduce that is super complex, and you use filter first instead of having like an if with a for and whatever, this is showing me that you know what you are doing with JavaScript, basically. Okay, so what else? Twin default. Now the last one I have in here, log name. Yeah. This one seems super simple, but it's made mainly to see if the developer we are talking with, like the interviewee or the candidate, knows about all the complexities that JavaScript context has, okay? So, this exercise is like figure out why, so this is like a code that has a bug on it, okay? Figure out why this is logging undefined punc, okay? So if I go ahead and click test in here, you can see that it says undefined punc, okay? And I wanted to say Daft Punk, okay? Because that's a great artist, okay? So, as you can see in here outside, I have this bar in here. I hate the use of bars, and you know this. I prefer to use let and const, but whatever. We have a bar in here, and then we name it name, so a bar name. And the value is Daft, okay? That's okay. Then we have this function log name, okay? Log name in here has this console log name. So theoretically, if I have name in here and name in here, this should say Daft, right? After that, so not before, after that, we have var name punk, and then log again that, and it's in here it says punk. So this is working. Why doesn't like this? Why is this like showing undefined instead of using like showing Daft? If you know about this, and I will take this opportunity to explain it, if you know about this, it's because you encountered this problem several times as a developer. So generally, like, this is also a sign that you are actually familiar with JavaScript in general. A junior maybe doesn't figure this out, but me as an interviewer, if you are seeing this and you are like, I really don't know why, it's like I'm seeing your code and it's like I see the name in here and I see name in here, so it should say Daft, but I don't know why. I will approve your like interview in like immediately, and that's because not only you are being honest about this and you are like truly saying like I don't know why is it happening, but you are actually asking somebody that maybe knows as your interviewer, why is this happening, okay? So there's, let's say, another tip for today. If you don't know something in an interview, don't feel shy about it. I mean, yeah, there will be interviewers that are assholes that will be like, yeah, if you don't know, then you are not useful for us. And like, pardon my language, but fuck them. But there will be people that will be willing to explain that to you. And they will be they will see that you are a good developer, because instead of like pretending that you know, you are actually willing to ask in order to learn something new, okay? So this particular scenario in here, what is happening is basically one phenomena of JavaScript that is called hoisting, okay? JavaScript hoisting. So what is actually happening is that the compiler, JavaScript, the language, is reading this as function, log name, okay? So I enter this function, that's fine. Now, it ignores this line because it detects that you are defining a variable in here. So actually, JavaScript internally is doing this. Okay? So internally, even if you are writing this as var name punk, JavaScript is actually taking your variable definition and putting it on the top of your function, okay? Without any value, and then assigning the value in here. So that's why when you console log in here, it's not actually logging the name that is outside, but it's actually using the one that is inside and is undefined initially. So we need to, like, that's why it's saying undefined first and then punk. So if you read it like this, it makes sense, right? But when you read it like this, it doesn't make any sense, and that's because you don't know that JavaScript internally is doing that change for you, okay? So solutions for this, there are quite a bunch. I mean, the exercise is just to try to figure out why is that happening. So it's basically, you see this, and if you say automatically like, yeah, this is hoisting, this is a problem with hoisting, you are approved. But you also approved if you just say like, I don't even know why is that happening, can you explain that for me? So you are a useful developer, you are a good developer because you are willing to learn something new, okay? So one possible solution maybe will be to, like, instead of using var, let's use like a const, because I don't change this, and like use this like const name in here like that. And instead of using a name that I already have in here, like I can move this in the function because I don't need that to be outside, and have this as a constant as well, and have it like first message, and have it like, I don't know, like second message maybe, and like they don't step in each other's toes, and maybe do something like something like that. And if we refresh this, theoretically it should work. Like, let's test it. Daft Punk, yay! Harder, better, faster, stronger. So yeah, this is basically to check if you know about hosting. So basically, if you know about some of the internal behaviors of JavaScript, okay? Basically, after seeing how you resolve these issues and how do you express your concerns or your questions or whatever, you already bug me. As an interviewer, if you are willing to do some questions or whatever, I'm more than happy with that. So, what else? Bar name punk, console log, what else do I want? Oh, right. So, I have these initial technical questions. This will work not only for me as an interviewer, but also if you are doing an interview for other companies, I don't know, let's say you want to work for, I don't know, Globant or GlobalLogic or Spark Digital, whatever are the companies that you have in your company. I mentioned some of the ones I worked on, but whatever company you want to work on. One good thing that you could do at the end of the interview with the technical interviewer, and I do this every time I need to do a technical interview myself when I want to work for another company, is to take the opportunity of being being in there with a developer and ask questions that will be useful for you. So this is quite similar to what I mentioned at the beginning. Instead of going to to talk with the human resources person and ask about the company, you can take the opportunity to talk with the technical person that is in the other side of the screen and ask, for example, yeah, the human resources person that contacted me first was super happy talking about all the benefits or whatever, but I have a question for you. That alone is already has a good impact, because it's you have some concerns that you want to resolve with the technical side of the company, okay? And you could ask, for example, hey, are the projects fun in there? It's are you having fun right now on your project? What is the general developer feel inside the company? Are people burn out, or is a relaxed environment? What are the most interesting I don't know, clients you work for? Did you work for other companies besides this one, for example? So if you show as an interviewee, okay, as a candidate, you show interest in the technical regard of the company, but not so much about you are not in the technical interview just to solve some exercises, but actually to learn about the technical side of the company, then that also adds a lot of points, let's say, because you give a better impact. When the developer will be more impacted with your presence, because you actually were interested in the company, and maybe in they in particular, in the interviewer in particular. Okay, so I don't know if you want me to show you maybe the React exercises I have, or if you rather if you are happy with this already and I can just close this one for today. I'm at your I can do whatever you want. I don't know. Oh, also, before I forget, remember that you can, in chat right now, if you use the I will do it myself class, if you use the class command, you will get a link from the Nightbot to the Google Classroom, in which I have links to all the previous episodes of the Untitled WebDev stream, together with some exercises for you to practice. This episode might be uploaded with a link to the JavaScript and TypeScript exercises in order to show you how, in order to for you to practice, for example, if you want. Okay, I will show you the React ones. Just interview tests and React interview test. This might take a little bit longer to load because it's React, and React takes a little bit to load. Okay, so this is I will read it like a really bad teacher to you. So this is a really simple exercise to test your React skills. The objective is to make two buttons, one to add and the other to subtract. and a span to display the current value. Okay, so this. You are free of writing the component in the style you want, so you can write it as a functional or as a class-based component. You can improve the component as much as you want, adding properties for customization, styling, and so on. So this is not a stacked list, this is a code sandbox, so this is basically something that remained from a previous iteration of this exercise. But basically what I want you to do as an interviewee in here is to create a component, call it whatever you want, but basically it should be exported as a default. But similar to JavaScript example, I want to see how do you create this component, okay? Because this component might be written as a class. So in here you could do something like component and export default class extends component and have something like this. So you could write this as a component, as a class component, instance render. Oh, sorry, yeah, render there. I don't have a Python command, Guido, but I could add that if you like use the untitled points. You have one thing that you can unlock that is add a command, and I could add a Python command for you. You know that I don't like Python that much because I rather use have this like opening and closing brackets because I like those. But yeah, that's the only reason I don't like Python, so don't hate me. Okay, render method, and in here let's return for now a div. Hello stream / div. Okay, so it's kind of working. I knew you don't like it, that's why I'm asking for it. Okay. Now, this is like the class format for a component, right? So we could start working on this, and if you create the component like this, I don't like that approach that much, but if it's well written, then maybe I could consider this a good approach. So one thing you could do is, let's make this a fragment in here. Let's put it into a parenthesis. There. And in here we have the, let's see, this dot state, I think it is, state dot count, and cannot read property count of null. Yeah, I hate this approach, it's so ugly. So I need a span in here. Let's add that first. Span / span. This is state count, and we want also like a button in here, button in here with a plus sign, and another one with a minus sign. Let me do this. Cannot read property count of null. So yeah, I need to constructor props. This syntax is so tedious. Gosh, super props, and in here this dot state, and in here we have count equals 0. There. Okay, so now it doesn't work yet, but at least we have like the placeholder thing. And in here we can have like on click, and have it like a function that will do like this dot set state count, and let's assign that to be this dot state dot count to be +1. This sucks, but it's working. Okay. Where is the scroll bar in here? There. Let's copy this and put it in here with like the same, but let's reduce one instead of adding one. Okay. Now we have this gigantic thing just to achieve this. Okay. So this could be a possible solution, but again, this is like all the first examples I show you so far. This could be fine with like a junior developer that doesn't have like a lot of experience with React. So they are like, yeah, I read like a tutorial from like 2 months ago, like 2 months, I hope 2 months, like 2 years ago when React started, and they use like this component thing and they extending as a class. And I came from like a Java background, so I love classes or whatever. So they do this and they are happy with it. I'm not, but yeah, as a junior developer, this is okay. It's like, well, like it's okay enough, let's say. Okay. Now, as a senior developer, as a senior React developer, if you are still doing this, I have some bad news for you. This is quite old and it's not the best approach you can have for this. First off, the first improvement you need to do for like a component like this one, it is basically to don't have like an internal state for it. So I don't want to follow the count in this same component. I just want to receive it from like the external world. So let's say I have, let's create like a class in here just to keep it like classy, okay? But I will switch to a function in like a second. But let's say I have like a class counter in here. I want to call it counter, and this extends component as well. And let's copy this for now. And this export default, let's remove, let's just make it return counter. There and there. Okay. There. So basically I move all the counter component outside of this default, because let's say this is like it's not, but let's say this is the actual app, okay? So this is the app, and the app is showing this counter, and this is the counter, okay? So we extracted all the counter thing away from the app. So that's a good first step, okay? The second step is that I want to remove this state from here, because I don't want to actually depend on state on my component, okay? This is like a really bad approach. If you have like a higher seniority, you will know why, but it's basically like having internal state usually like takes you in a bad direction. Like it's harder to test, it's harder to maintain. Every time you need to change something is like a nightmare if you need to change it from the outside of the component. So it's better to not have a state at all. So one good first step will be to like remove this away, so we only have this, and instead of getting the count from the state, we get it from the props, so the properties of the element, okay? And in here, instead of doing this set state, what we do is, let's select this old thing. We do this props and a prop that I will let's like on increment, something like that. Okay, so we will have a property that is on increment and on decrement. I already showed you in the React episode, but decrement, okay? So we have the class counter, okay, that extends the component, and the render method inside of that returns this. So now I need to track that in some place. So in here I use count. The count property will be the value of this dot state dot count, and now let's put it like this and like this, so it's easier for me to read it later. And in here we do something like on increment, I want this to call this.setState, and again like count is the.state.count plus 1, and on decrement -1. Okay, so what we effectively just did was, like as you can see this works now, is our component now only receives the current count, and when the plus or the minus are clicked, it sends like an event, like saying like, hey, somebody click the plus button and somebody click like the minus button. Okay, later the app, when it's using our content component, defines what the value of the count is, what should happen if the click on the increment happens, and what should happen if the click on decrement happens. Why is this good? Why is this separation good? Basically because, for example, let's say I want to start the count in 5 now for the app. It starts in 5, so every time, like, let's refresh. It starts in 5 and I can increment and decrement from that. In the previous approach, because the counter had all the internal state, I didn't have a way to like actually set the count to 5 by default from the external world without adding more complexity on top, right? So this is like the simplest approach. The same happens with the on increment and on decrement. If I want, for example, every time the user clicks on the plus, I want to add 1, but I also want to log something on the console. I can do that. I can just do like put this into curly braces and do something like console.log incrementing dot or whatever. Okay, so now save whatever. So I just did that, and now every time I click on the plus sign, I get like an incrementing on the console. And I can do that because I still have control over that button. I can't do that if the state is being handled by the counter component itself, okay? So this approach is far better, and if you say you are a senior and you do something like this, I will be happy enough, because it's like, okay, at least you have like a correct architecture for React. Like that's like the top bottom architecture, meaning that the state comes from the top to the bottom, so from the parent component to the children component and so on and so forth, and the state goes bottom up, so the events go bottom up. So when I click on increment or on decrement, I inform the parent and the parent handles that. Okay, so this is a better approach. Now the best approach from my point of view is the one that I showed you like previously on the React episode, basically turn this into a function that it will be like simpler. How do I do that? Basically I do like const counter in here. Let's add an F for that for now because we still have this, and in here I just do this there, and let's copy this and paste it in here. Instead of having to do this dot props or whatever, I just do count on increment on decrement and count on increment on decrement. Okay, so this has the same result as this, with, let's say, like quite a lot less complexity, because it's just a function, it's not a class. I don't need like a render or whatever, so yeah, it's like simpler. So I can just go ahead and do this and this, and this will keep on working exactly the same. Okay, so I get logs when I click on the increment, and I do not get anything when I click on the minus. But yeah, this keeps on working exactly the same as the previous one, but with a far simpler expression, like far simpler way of expressing it. Okay, this could be maybe improved a little bit more, like maybe making this a div and making all other properties to be submit to that div, for example. So now I have I have the freedom of adding class names to the counter or stuff like that, but yeah, it's just like a small improvement. So this will be a way of improving the component. Now, how do we improve the actual app? We do something similar. Instead of doing class, we do extend default, export, default, and we do something like this, and then we remove all this garbage there. I think I'm missing some. Yeah, so now I need to, let's read. I didn't want to do that. There now, and I want to follow this state count. So I need a count in here and a set count. I show you this in the React episode, so if you missed that, I recommend you to watch it later. So in here I use state. Use state, it's coming also from React. And in here I put the default value I want, so I want it to start with 5, so let's keep it as 5. And instead of using this state, whatever, I just use count in here. And now it's not working yet. Oh yeah, because I forgot to, instead of using this, I do set count. And in here, instead of this state, just like count. And I don't even need this, so yeah. Will you look at that? So this is far simpler. It's like I don't need to break the line anymore because it can be in one line. So if I remove this console log in here, I can just go ahead and do this and do this, and we will have quite a simpler expression to achieve exactly the same thing. Okay, so instead of using this dot set state or whatever, I just use the use state hook. And all this, like, I don't know, component, I don't need component anymore. So all this is just the functional approach, the functional component approach to achieve exactly the same thing. So if you do this to solve the problem, then I'm just like super happy with you, because you are basically like, you are aware of the currents of React. So you are, instead of using the old approach with the class component, you are actually using functional components with the use of hooks. So this is far better, okay? But yeah, that's like the example I have for you today. Yeah, so that's everything I have for like today's episode. Mainly, if you have like, as usual, if you have any kind of like questions about the general like interview process, I can just like keep on answering them like in following episodes. But still, from the next episode, I will be focusing on progressive web apps, so PWAs. That is like something great that I want to show you. But that will be basically like going back to the technical kind of streams. So it will not be focused so much about like the experience, the interview experience or process. And it will be more focused on like, again, technical stuff, and this technical stuff is called progressive web apps, okay? But still, as usual, I will be switching to the close now. As usual, if you have any kind of questions, you can ping me on any of my social media. It doesn't bother me at all, so you can ping me on like Twitter, Telegram, Facebook Messenger if you want. So you can go into the website that you are seeing on screen right now, lookshiro.me, in which I have some of my most used social links. So if you click on any of those, you can find me like instantly. Also, if you are watching this later on YouTube, you can also leave a comment down below, and I can just like answer the comment directly on YouTube, or I can like try to tackle that same issue on the next episode if like it's interesting enough. So as usual, thank you a lot for watching, and I see you next time.